Hello everyone, my name is Jesse, and this is the Auditorium. I react to video game music for the first time as a musician myself. And in the Christmas spirit, I decided to check out some Sonic songs, and this is actually a debut. I'm surprised I'm still saying that for Sonic, but apparently I've never done Sonic 3D Blast, and we're getting kind of a 2-for-1 special, when really it's 4 songs. We have Diamond Dust, Act 1, and Act 2 from both the Sega Genesis or the Mega Drive and the Sega Saturn. And I don't know, but that also may be the debut of the Sega Saturn. I don't know if I've done anything Sega Saturn. Anyways, this is requested by Anna Chicky, and this was suggested based on me asking people for Christmas themed video game songs for my next episode of VGM Vibes 8. And surprisingly, some people said Diamond Dust, but specifically Sega Genesis, and some people said the same thing for Saturn. So I was like, let's just do them together. So 4 songs, 2 acts, 2 games. I saw that the Genesis released first by like a week, both in 1996, and then for some reason Japan got it like 3 years later. Anyways, big intro, but if I decide to put it into that episode, I will give it to the gold star. Anyways, I don't know the composers here, but apparently the songs are quite different. The 2 systems are quite different from another. Anyways, channel is Deoxys Prime. This is Diamond Dust from the Sega Genesis or the Mega Drive. Act 1. Wow, listen to those biddies. All 16 of them. And 96 must have been such a crazy year. PS1 was already out, Saturn. I can't believe there were still Genesis games in 96. So we're gonna see if this is indeed Christmas sounding. This is so weird because it sounds like the Sonic that I grew up with, you know? The sound. Yep, there's that bass. I feel like I've heard that before in Sonic. Dun, dun. Well, I will say it doesn't really sound too Christmassy yet, but it definitely has a slight winterish vibe. This is going to be one where I'm going to have to see the visuals later on, and, you know, it's still too early to say. I'm just giving you my thoughts right now. It sounds very airy and open. The music feels very, open, I guess, fast. Notes are ringing out for long times. The melodies are very long. Ding! A lot of reverb. I would have to guess this is a bit of a, like, Winter Wonderland. Sonic 3D Blast. If it's 96, that may be one of the first times that he was 3D, right? Alright, I don't want to talk too much because we have another act to go to right away. But just right away, my initial thoughts is, wow, that sounds like the Sonic I know, and it's like making me nostalgic and kind of weirded out because I feel like it sounds familiar to me, even though I've never heard it. It's just, if you're new here, I've only played the first 2 Sonics and the very, very beginning of 3. So that sound, that little chiptune-y, heavy bass sound, I'm very familiar with. And this was shortly right after my time, so, and yet it's new, and I can't tell. But this was suggested for Christmas, but my initial thought is it doesn't really sound like Christmas to me yet. Maybe the other acts do, maybe the Saturn version. And as of right now, I don't have footage, but I will later, so I'm gonna just have to assume it's just like a snow-filled area. But anyways, Act 2 Diamond Dust Zone. I caught the motif though. Dun, 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 dun. You know what I love about soundtracks that sound like this? It sounds like the hardware is being pushed to its limit. All in the... at the sake of art and, you know, musical prowess. This one's sounding more ice. That crystal-like keyboard. Plus the name Diamond Dust, you know. I just think of ice shards and stuff. Dude, the bass is so sick. I mean, I guess it can kind of sound Christmassy. I'm gonna have to see the visuals here for sure. Definitely sounds winter though. It sounds a little more upbeat than Act 1. And yet somehow more chill too. I cannot wait to hear the Saturn's take on this. Since they released at the same time. I'm guessing 2 different teams. Has to be, right? Or maybe it ported. I don't know. I don't know. Yes, I like this part a lot. It sounds older than a Sega. I don't know how to explain that. It sounds kind of like Nintendo. Let's just say 8-bit. Maybe that's intentional. Some parts, not all of it. Oh man, I'm getting so nostalgic. It's like tearing me up inside. It's so weird. Again, if you're new, just a really quick recap. Sonic the Hedgehog 1 was very, very likely some of the first, if not the first, video game music I've ever heard in my entire life. My first memories of video game music is absolutely either Sonic 1, Mortal Kombat 1, the 2 games we had. I did have a Sega Genesis. And I remember the Sonic game came with the Sega. And it had a little sticker on it that said not for resale. That's how you know it came bundled. So imagine, you know, the first things I remember as a kid. Green Hill Zone has been like literally one of my first impressions of video game music that shaped me, you know. Same with MK. So yeah, you know, Sonic music, especially if it sounds like this, closer to that style, it brings up this, oh my gosh, I've been listening to this stuff for like 30 years. And that's a long time, you know. I'm not old, but I'm not like super, super young either anymore. Although I still feel the same as if I was like 20 years old. And luckily no gray hairs yet. But, you know, it's weird. 3 decades I've been listening off and on to Green Hill Zone and Marble Zone, which is my favorite song from 1, by the way. Starlight. You know, I still remember, dude, I remember being, what was it, like 2 years later or something like that? I remember hearing Chemical Plant Zone, and my mind just melted. Dun, 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 doo-doo-doo-doo. Amazing. So hearing stuff like this from around that era is just super nostalgic to me, even though I've never heard it. It's so bizarre. Now, right before I clicked play on this one, I wanted to see the release date, just so I can hear them in order as to which one released first. And from what I saw in like 2 minutes, it seemed like the North American release was the first one in I don't even remember. It was like the first week of November or something, 96. And then like the next week was the Sega Saturn. So I don't know how stuff was done back then. I would have to imagine two separate teams. Sonic was already a big deal by this time, so maybe they had the resources to allocate two different teams. Or it's like a port and they just kind of morph things around. I don't know. But they were released basically at the same time. But what I've been told, and what I'm really looking forward to, is that the Saturn version is like really different musically. I would have to guess to use an entirely different composer or something. So I'll look into it more later, but as of right now, it's like pretty exciting because not even Sonic. I don't know if I've heard Saturn before. Maybe. I've heard a lot of music on this channel, but there's still so much video game music as a whole that I've never heard. There's still so many songs, dude. But the Saturn, it's like, the Saturn was this thing that I always knew existed, but I never owned one. I didn't know anyone that had one. At this time, sorry to say to Sega fans, but people moved on to the Sony and the Nintendo 64. So the Saturn seemed kind of like this anomaly. And I don't know. I don't know what is on the Saturn that was notable or anything, but either way, before I get to the next ones, I don't know if I've heard Sega Saturn music, so that's exciting in itself. Anyways. Still, though, I will admit, it doesn't sound too Christmassy to me. Maybe this is one of those things where the song is very wintry, but the visuals are very Christmas. So, but we'll see. We'll see later. It has hints of it, but okay. So these are both a little longer. These are both 5 minutes. But we have Diamond Dust Act 1 and 2 again from the Sega Saturn, which I don't know. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this might be the debut. 2 debuts at once, 3D Blast and the Sega Saturn. I don't know if I've heard Saturn before. Let's hear if there's any difference, and we'll watch out for that that motif, I guess. Dun, 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 dun. Or maybe they did something else. Anyways, Sega Saturn, Sonic 3D Blast, Diamond Dust. Immediate difference. Wow, the sound quality. It was CDs already, right? Yeah, right? I don't say the wrong thing. Oh my god, yeah, that sounds like CD quality. I'm pretty sure the Saturn was disc-based. Oh my god. Yeah, there's that Christmas vibe. Why can't I spell Saturn? Jeez. I keep fat fingering and putting Y. Saturn. It was indeed disc-based. I knew that, but I wanted to make sure. It's amazing how adding sleigh bells immediately changes everything. Sounds like a totally different song. Yeah, this is like undeniable Christmas vibes. You can't confuse this with anything else. Wow. I don't think it'd be that much of a difference. This is one of those things where it's going to come down to preference with you guys. I can't even compare them. They're like two different, you know what I mean? Sounds like a totally different direction of song. This sounds like snow globes and candy canes and gingerbread houses. Honestly though, it doesn't even sound like Sonic to me. I know that's weird to say, but it's not my first thought. The first one, I could say that sounds like Sonic to me. If I hear this, my brain wouldn't immediately think Sonic. But that's okay. Then again, Sonic does like every genre ever. wonder why these loops are so much longer. I guess we have to get in the festive mood. I would put this on, but I already have my headphones on, so let's pretend it's on. I decorate everywhere else though. See? I'm trying. I'm just shocked at the quality jump. Same year, but the hardware is like wowza. I don't even know if they use the same motif. This one sounds like, you know what this sounds like? It sounds like ice skating. This is what I imagine when I think of like Central Park and people just ice skating with their little beanies or ugly Christmas sweaters. Or you know what I really think of? Remember Home Alone 2 where Kevin visits the toy store? Duncan's toy chest? That. I see that when I hear this. Well, it does modulate here into a little bit of some tension, right? Let's see when it releases. Yeah, just a little brief little. That little is the oncoming New Year's stress. This was way more mystical and fantasy. Like, sound of snowfall. One more to go. It's got the bells, got the sleigh bells. The sound of sounds like snowfall. Night and day difference. Yeah, I'm not one to ever, be like, oh, this is better. This, to me, those are two entirely different moods. The first one, again, I don't know what it looks like. First one, just hearing it blind. It definitely sounds like winter. I'll give it that. But it's not specific. And if you're curious as to why I keep referring back to it, it's because I'm doing these videos in search of, of course I'm reacting as normal, but I'm also in search of specific Christmas songs. So it's not like I'm rating it, I'm gonna check off points or something. It's just the first one didn't give me Christmas vibes. That's all it is. But it did give me winter vibes. And which is quite fitting, Whereas the second one, Saturn, that was no question about it. You hear that, and your brain doesn't go anywhere else than Christmas. There's nothing else you think of. You know what I mean? And that's kind of what I was hoping for, or in search of, specifically because I was under the impression that surely there's not a whole lot of Christmas music in video games. I figured there'd be a little bit here and there, but I didn't think I'd get so many suggestions for it. So this is me just kind of siphoning through those. So Act 1, Sega Saturn, definitely Christmas vibes. And damn, what a difference. It sounded like it sounded like if there was two composers, they weren't even talking to each other. I don't think there was a motif shared. Maybe? I don't know. I just heard of the first one, so. Yeah, this sounded, what this sounded like to me? It sounded kind of like, what am I thinking of? There was a song in Kirby I did for the Winter Vibes episode. Reminded me of that a little bit. Not the British song, the other one. But just that. It just kind of reminds me of like a Winter Wonderland, and that's pretty much it. But it doesn't sound like Sonic to me, which is, I don't mean that ever in a controversial way or it doesn't sound like Sonic. I'm just saying everyone grew up, especially with Sonic, everyone grew up differently You know, different eras, different games. Maybe you started with 3D, maybe you started with Frontiers, whatever. I started with the original games. So that first Sega Genesis sound, that is really, really familiar to me. Whereas this one, if someone played it to me blind, I would never guess it's Sonic. But that's okay. It's not a bad thing. Just speaking my thoughts into the microphone. The final song, the longest one, Diamond Dust Act 2. Diamond Dust Zone Act 2 from Sega Saturn. Let's get into it. Well, we'll get even more Christmas. Let's go. I feel like we need to be watching this episode with hot chocolate. Just pretend this has hot chocolate in it. And it's like piping this water. Drum beat. Yeah, what a mood. I'm a fan of Christmas music, so I don't get bored of this stuff. Me making this VGM Vibes episode was really a ploy for me to add Christmas songs into my playlist. I don't know why, but this reminds me of like the band Wham with George Michael. I don't know why. Oh, wait a minute. Didn't he... I know what it's reminding me of. It's reminding me of... Is it Wham or is it George Michael? The Last Christmas. Let me find out. I mean, it's not the same, like, sound or anything. Just the vibe. Last Christmas. Oh, I modulated again. Oh, it is Wham. I think it kind of reminds me of Last Christmas by Wham. That song is so catchy. If you've never heard it, don't, because it's gonna get stuck in your head forever. Yeah, this one definitely has more emphasis on the rhythm section, drums. I don't even know if the first one had drums. I don't think so. It just sounds like such a good mood. Throughout each song, all four of them, a lot of bass. Sonic never falls short in that department of oomph. Whew. 4 songs in less than 20 minutes. A lot of brain activity. You know, the one thing about Christmas instrumentals is that they can sound repetitive after a while. Like a lot of Christmas music is really good because of its like vocal performance that's attached to it. But it's not really. I mean, that's the point, though. Like, I feel like Chris's music should be ambient and setting the mood. It is 100% about painting the picture of this very specific area. This song just reminded me that I have to buy presents soon. I gotta do some shopping. Gotta make my list, check twice, find out who's been naughty or nice. It's almost over. Yeah, the Saturn version is like very much. Well, I'll talk about him in a second, but man, what a difference. I wonder why they chose to loop it so many times, but the Genesis version only got like one loop. Yeah, the Genesis ones were like 2 minutes, and these ones were both like 6. Anywho, you know, so it's one thing to react to one song and get that information, but getting 4 songs at once from 2 different consoles from the same year, and not only that, is 2 songs that are split apart by zones. You have to excuse me if I forgot some things, but overall, well, I mean, I like them all. I've yet to hear a bad Sonic song. Have I? No, I haven't heard a bad Sonic song yet. Don't think so. So I kind of knew that already going into it. I'm like, oh, you know, I'm already gonna pretty much like it. But the first one, they both gave me 2 distinct feelings. That's for sure. I was expecting that. I thought the Saturn version was going to be an enhanced version of the Genesis one, as in the same motif, better quality, and CD quality, and that was about it. It was pretty much going to be the same thing. But to me, it sounds like Team A, Team B, Composer A, Composer B, that kind of thing. And the higher ups of Sega was like, you do this one, don't talk to them. You do this one, don't talk to them. And which is an interesting choice. I feel like that adds more work. Maybe they thought they could handle it. Maybe they really were pushing for the Saturn to be different and new. So they were like, let's get a new soundtrack for it. You know what I mean? Like, I wonder what was the thought process there. Especially going into the holiday season. This was released right around Christmas. And, you know, Sony and Philips doing their thing. So must have been a lot of pressure. Anyways, I don't know all that stuff, but the first one, Diamond Dust Act 1 and 2 from the Sega Genesis or the Mega Drive, was much more in line with what I know of Sonic. Mind you, I've heard a lot of Sonic in the past 3 years on this channel. It's everywhere. But what I'm saying is, what I know it as is my inception of the music of Sonic. You know, that sound, that really funky bass, and just kind of, it has just kind of its own little ring to it. But I definitely didn't get a Christmas vibe from that. Almost, maybe like 10% or something. It was definitely a colder sound, like with the reverb and this kind of the openness of it, but not Christmas. And again, I don't want to make it seem like I was only looking for Christmas, and if it didn't sound like Christmas, I don't like it. I'm just saying it didn't give me that, and that's about it, you know. But it was still very nostalgic and very cool. It had its own motif and had just pretty much its own thing going for it. The Saturn version, which again I think is the first time I heard Saturn, question mark, Two things immediately happened in the first 5 seconds. The tone of the song was like Christmas slap in the face. But not only that, is the quality jump from the 16-bit sound to the CD quality. All of a sudden it sounds like a band performance or something, So that kind of like hit me. But right away, the second one sounded undeniable Christmas. It sounded like a Christmas commercial. It sounded like going through a mall back in the 90s and just seeing all the decorations. It sounded like driving through neighborhoods and seeing the Christmas lights. All that, it sounded like that to me. Sleigh bells, the kind of just ongoing drums, and it's just very lively. Speaking of drums, there was more emphasis on the drums, at least in Act 2 of the Sega Saturn one. I don't remember at this exact moment if Act 1 had any drums, but it definitely didn't feel like it. It was more of a ambiance of Winter Wonderland. And it was very odd. It's not every day that I hear 4 songs. It's not every day that I hear one game with 2 consoles. And it's not every day that I hear 2 different songs from the same game. You know what I mean? Like, there's just a lot of mental gymnastics I had to do. And then at the same time, the second one didn't really sound like Sonic per se. It was just a little more vague sounding, as it just sounded like a Christmas song. So this would be a really weird video if this was like your first time ever on the channel and you're like, what do you mean doesn't sound like Sonic or doesn't sound like Christmas? It's not every day. Not every day is when I do reactions to these songs. I'm just telling you the information that comes into my head and comes right back out. But with these ones, it's like I'm kind of almost searching for a very specific thing. And at first it wasn't there, and the second time it was there. So I don't want to make it seem like I'm kind of like judging it though. It's just the way it is, the way the cookie crumbles, the gingerbread cookie crumbles. I don't know. 2 really good ones, and I'll put it in my VGM Vibes 8 episode, which is funny because I told myself at some point Sonic is not going to be in one of these episodes. Surely he hasn't been everywhere, and I thought this was going to be the one where there would be no Sonic. But I've been suggested 3 Sonic games for the Christmas vibes. This one, Unleashed, and Team Sonic Racing. So there's probably more too. Like, I don't even know. This list is huge. Anyways, that's Diamond Dust Zone. I don't know what's happening as of right now, but later when I find out more information, I will, and then maybe it'll all click. But yeah, first one, familiar, not Christmassy. Second one, not familiar, very Christmassy. And possibly a lot of debuts here, but also the debut of Sonic 3D Blast and the Saturn. It's a lot. Ugh. Thank you to Anna Chicky. Thank you to all the requesters and the suggesters. Thank you to all my patrons here. I couldn't be here without them. Thanks to you for watching. My name is Jesse. Happy holidays. Peace.